Hi, everyone. Welcome to our bi-weekly Hangout on Air series. I'm Krista Seiden, Analytics Advocate at Google. And today I'm joined by Abhi, who is a Product Manager on GA integration. So Abhi, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, happy to be here.
So today we are talking about Analytics 360 integrations with DoubleClick Bid Manager and DoubleClick Search. So a quick reminder, as always, submit your questions, and you can do that in two ways. You can do it through the Hangout on Air chat box that you see in your window as you're watching this presentation, or through the form. The form is linked here, but it's also in the invite for this HOA. So go ahead and definitely submit those questions as we go through. We'd love to answer them at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that agenda. So today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about DoubleClick and Google Analytics 360 and how they are really better together, and that those integrations really make both of them stronger products. Then we're going to talk about DoubleClick Bid Manager and the reporting integration and give you an overview and then a demo of what that looks like in Google Analytics. And then we're going to do the same for DoubleClick Search. And then finally, we will end with taking all of your questions and hopefully giving you guys some pretty good answers for those. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in with connecting marketing data and site analytics data. So marketing performance data gives you insights into impressions, clicks, and conversions. If you see on this slide, you see the two gray boxes. So for example, in these, you can see a user clicks or sees an ad, they visit the site, and then they may or they may not convert. If you assume that an average site conversion rate is about 3%, that leaves you with about 97% of your traffic that in this scenario, you're not necessarily getting insights into today. And we think you can do better, a lot better. So if we combine that marketing data with GA data, you can get insights into that 97% of users who visited your site but didn't convert. So for example, who are they? How long were they on your site? Did your ads have any impression or impact on them at all in terms of their site engagement, or how long or what they did on your site if it wasn't necessarily a conversion? So Google Analytics does a vital job of helping with this scenario, right? It automatically combines performance and cost data from DoubleClick with your GA stats to show you how your marketing is impacting your site behavior, even if it doesn't lead to that conversion. And it takes that performance and cost data from DoubleClick and shows it how it drives your site engagement. It helps you create a more granular marketing list and helps you track those conversions using GA goals and e-commerce. So if you're using goals or e-commerce tracking in GA, you can then measure the impact of your marketing campaigns in a much better way. So we have a long-standing integration with DCM, right? Actually, Abhi joined us several months back to talk about that integration. And we recently announced new integrations with DoubleClick Bid Manager and DoubleClick Search that are going to provide a more comprehensive reporting of that DoubleClick and GA data. So with all of that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Abhi now, and he's going to give us a deeper dive into these specific integrations.
All right, thank you, Krista. Before we talk about the specific integrations, let's take a moment to review what is the DoubleClick digital marketing stack. So DoubleClick Digital Marketing, it's a suite of products that are used by our advertisers to manage as well as buy, display, and search traffic programmatically. There are three main products that we care about. These are called DoubleClick Campaign Manager, DoubleClick Bid Manager, and DoubleClick Search. DoubleClick Campaign Manager is your ad server. So you would use this for trafficking and serving all of your display ad across the internet, regardless of how you buy them. DoubleClick Bid Manager is what we call a demand-side platform. It is used for buying display ads programmatically by bidding on individual impressions, just like you would do for search using AdWords. DoubleClick Search is your cross-search engine management tool. So for example, if you're buying on multiple engines beyond AdWords, example, Bing, Yahoo, etc., then you would be using DoubleClick Search for managing all your ads across all these engines in one interface, and you would get detailed reporting in that interface as well. For today, our focus would be on Bid Manager and DoubleClick Search. So let's start with DoubleClick Bid Manager. Our integration with DoubleClick Bid Manager is first class, and it's deep and rich in functionality. We get first-class access to DoubleClick Bid Manager, so we are able to combine your Bid Manager reporting data with your site analytics data in GA and put together this view in an accurate way, sort of using your reporting insights from both the tools. So let's look at these. It's extremely easy to set up. You don't require any auto tagging. You just need to connect these two systems by linking your accounts, and you'll get detailed reporting. And there are 3 main slides that I'll talk through at a high level, and then we can go into more details in the demo.
Perfect.
So for the first one, we've created a brand new section for DoubleClick Bid Manager. This will provide you the same native hierarchy that you're used to seeing in your Bid Manager system. And the benefit of that is you can translate the insights that you would see in your Bid Manager system and immediately apply them in Google Analytics. So for example, you start at the advertiser level, and you can drill down all the way down to the creative level. You have insertion order, which is a proxy for campaign. You have line items, which is a proxy for ad groups in search speak. And then you have creatives, which are the actual assets that show up on the site. Sites are where your impressions are actually serving, and exchanges are where you bought them. So that's a quick overview of the dimension hierarchy. The second important point here is your view-throughs and click-through sessions. So it's interesting because this section would capture the DBM impressions, and it would also show you the sessions that were led to through impressions. So we take every session, and we look back in time and see whether there was a DBM click before the user visited the site. If there was a DBM click, then we mark it as a click-through session. If not, then we would mark it as a view-through in case there was a DBM impression. And if there was neither a click nor an impression, then we would basically not count that in this section. Once you put these two together, then across this dimension hierarchy, you get the familiar GA metrics. So you get number of sessions, you get the quality of each session, percentage of new users that are coming to the site, what is the bounce rate, etc. So you would get all of that insight using this one report.
So I actually notice, and I think this seems really powerful to me, is I see the secondary dimension drop down. So I'm sure you'll demo this later, but that means that I can add any different secondary dimensions I have in GA and slice and dice this view through and click through data by those secondary dimensions,
Absolutely,
right?
that's true. And I'll show you a couple of examples for that as well. So that was the core acquisition section. Then all these DBM dimensions also make their way into the attribution reports. So this is a familiar top conversion path report, which will show you how are the users interacting with your Bid Manager campaigns before they are converting on the site. Especially important if you're running upper funnel campaigns and you're not getting those many direct conversions, then this would give you an insight of where those DBM ads, impressions, and clicks are occurring.
Right, so that makes those MCF reports that much more powerful and much more full of all of your data. You're really accounting for many more touch points here.
Yep, absolutely. Leading into that is attribution modeling tool, which is about attributing credit to those specific impressions and clicks that led to conversions on your site. So you have all your custom models here. You have some of the standard models that are present in GA, like loss click, linear, time decay. The most important when you have data-driven attribution. So you can apply that, and you can see true impact of your Bid Manager campaigns when considered along with all the other channels in your campaigns. All right, so third part is audience insights. This is not perhaps that obvious and doesn't get talked about that much, but I wanted to stress this, that GA has a rich audience capabilities, and you can use those capabilities and apply them to all of your ad campaigns, which, for example, in this case, Bid Manager, and you can see who are those users who are interacting with your Bid Manager impressions and clicks. So in this case, all the orange charts are age and demographic and affinity category distribution of your Bid Manager, of users acquired through Bid Manager campaigns. And I'll show you how to create these charts in the UI as well. With that, let's actually switch over to the demo, and let me give you a quick peek of how to put together some of these reports. All right, so let's start with the source medium report. That's the first place. When you link together your accounts, you go to your all traffic report source medium section. This is where we would follow the true last non-direct click model, and we would account for all of your DBM sessions driven by DBM. So let me do a quick search for CPM, because the medium is marked as CPM for all of these. So all sessions which appear against DBM CPM would be sessions which were driven by DBM campaign. So someone clicked on a DBM ad and landed on your site. This is what is showing that number. For users who are also using Campaign Manager integration, that would be marked as DFA CPM.
And those are coming through via auto tagging?
Yes. So you don't have to do any manual tagging. These are coming via auto tagging. Yes.
Awesome.
And again, to your point about secondary dimensions, you have all your DBM dimensions as well as GA dimensions, which you can apply here to get a better sense of, let's say, for example, I could apply insertion order, and you could see, which is more like a campaign, and you could see what campaigns are actually driving those sessions. You would see in this case, most of them are coming through an accessories campaign, and other two are driving lesser so. And you can look at sort of what are the engagement metrics for those sessions.
So that's really cool. Not only can you analyze your DBM metrics together here, slicing and dicing with each other, but you can also then add in all of the GA metrics. So you're really getting the best of both systems in one place.
Yeah. You could, for example, you could apply geo, you could apply device type, and it would be interesting to see the distribution of sessions across those. So let's skip out of this. Now that if you want to dive deeper into your bid manager campaigns, then you basically get into this specific section that we've created for bid managers. You come here, you'll see the same hierarchy that you have in your DBM systems, and you click on advertiser, for example. Now notice that this view is put together using another model, which we call DFA model. It's a little nuanced, meaning in your all traffic section, the sessions attributed to DBM CPM are true last click sessions. Whereas in this case, we follow something called a DFA model. And DFA model means that we are looking at every incoming session, and we are ignoring all the other channels of traffic that GA is tracking. And we're just looking, hey, for this session, did this user ever click on a DBM ad? If yes, then we mark it as a click-through. And if not, and if the user ever saw a DBM impression, then we would mark it as a view-through. If not, then we don't count those sessions. You will see the total session count would be smaller than the general all traffic report.
Taking out all the other noise. This is just the data that is associated with those DBM campaigns.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So you come here, you'll see for your DBM advertiser, number of click-through and view-through sessions that are being driven by this. You can drill down, and you can look at specific campaigns, and you can see for those campaigns, similarly, what are the number of sessions which are being driven by those, and what does the engagement look like? Just really quickly looking at a couple of these, for example, you could see that your bounce rates, etc., are so different. Your view-through has such a lower bounce rate than your click-through sessions for this accessories campaign. And similarly, engagement in terms of time, session duration, is so much more for your view-through sessions as compared to your click-through sessions. This could be interesting. That poses an interesting question. Either new users that you're acquiring through your view-through campaigns already know what they're looking for. They're probably coming directly or through an organic channel. They're spending more time. They're more engaged. Whereas click-throughs could be someone just was curious, looked at your ad, clicked, and came here.
Right. Maybe viewing that ad just reminded them that they wanted to go
back.
And then they took that, that effort separate from that ad to go back and click or go back to the website and spend time and purchase something.
Exactly. So for your click-through sessions, you could carve out this segment, create a separate segment of this users, and you could remarket to them using your AdWords or pushing these lists back into DBM for remarketing campaigns. Or you could just work together on creative strategy for these users or site content strategy to see what would be more suitable for users who are clicking on your accessories campaign and coming to the site. Also, if you want to get a quick sense of what is the scale of these campaigns, how many impressions and clicks are they delivering, how much money is being spent on these campaigns, then you can optionally link to your cost data and import that, and we put together something called clicks report. This is just information that you would be able to see in your bid manager systems, but a lot of you may have to switch systems, so that is a source of inconvenience, or sometimes it's also an access issue, so you don't have access to those systems. So you might come in this case, go to clicks report, and you can see how many impressions, clicks, and conversions are being driven by these different campaigns. For accessories, you can see almost 500,000 impressions, fewer clicks, click-through rate, etc. And then if you're using revenue tracking in GA, we would also put together ROAS. Notice also that we are pulling in something called DBM cost. This is the aggregate amount of spend you are doing on this campaign. And this would be the real money that we pull from DBM in order to display that here. So this is not manually entered, which is a huge benefit if you want to do CPA or ROAS type of analysis. I would highly encourage you to link cost data.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so quickly I want to move to other sections. So let's quickly go into audience section and see demographics. Clicking on overview here. And normally this would show you your age and gender distribution for all traffic that is coming to your site. We have done something powerful. We've taken all the DBM dimensions and we have exposed them in your segmentation as well. So you can do segments such as, here I've created a segment of all the users that we have acquired through DBM. So this says filter all users where advertiser contains Google Merchandise Store. This is a DBM advertiser. We are filtering on users. We apply this segment, and you will see that we can create charts that I showed you on the slide. So for all users that we acquired through, this is just for your DBM users then. So this is for your DBM users. You can see what is the age and gender distribution of just people who clicked on your DBM ad or saw your DBM ad and came to your site.
And you could compare that to all sessions as well,
yes,
to see what the difference was.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I intended to do.
Yeah.
You can compare it to all sessions really quickly, and then you can get insights from that. Similarly, you can go to interest categories, you can do affinity categories, and you can see what is the distribution in terms of interest for all these users who are interacting with your ads. We wait a sec while the report loads, sorry. Okay, yeah, so you have interest affinity categories and you have in-market segments. You can see how the users who you acquired through DBM are distributed across each of these segments.
Very cool.
Finally, let's talk about conversions. So I'll get into the conversion section and I'll load what we call as top conversion path report. So when looking at top conversion path report, this gives you insights into, let's say at the channel level, all DBM traffic would get into display. So you would see how display is working across channels, but you can get much more granular. So for example, I could do a source medium path here. So as the source medium path loads, we could search it for CPM just to get an understanding of Bid Manager. And this is showing me all the paths where someone saw a DBM ad and then, let's say, clicked on a YouTube referral and then ultimately came and converted on the site. You can also apply secondary dimensions here to get deeper insights. So for example, if I apply insertion order path, then this will give me specific details in what was the campaign on that DBM CPM impression. So you can see it was someone saw an accessories ad, came through a YouTube referral, and then actually converted on the site. And it's getting quite a significant number of conversions. It just gives you a sense of where these DBM impressions are participating in the paths.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. Last one on this is model comparison tool. So now once you have a higher level sense, you can get into the model comparison tool and you can see at a channel level how many conversions display is driving. So your DBM would just feed into here. You can apply a secondary dimension here to just look at specific DBM-specific conversions. But if you want to do that, I would recommend that you get into this DBM tab that we created in attribution. So DBM tab is the same traffic in conversion section. It's just applying a filter of users or of conversions that were driven by DBM. So you will see for a particular DBM advertiser, you had by last interaction about 1,000 conversions and $1,500. This is again coming automatically because we pulled the cost information from Bid Manager.
Cool.
You can apply different models here. So let's say select data driven, and that will allow you to compare these two models. And you can do immediate CPA analysis, like your CPA by last interaction was $1.43, whereas by DDA, it's significantly lower for your overall advertiser. So this just starts to give you a sense of what's going on, and you can dive deeper and look at it at per campaign level or all the way down to the creative level granularity.
Very cool.
All right. So with that, let's switch back to the slides and wrap up the DBM section.
Great. So let's look at a quick summary of everything that Abhi just told us about DBM. So first, you can get rich insights into all of your website behavior for users interacting with your DBM ads. And that includes the ones that don't convert, which I think is huge. That's something you can't do without an integration like this. You can create granular remarketing lists and share it back to DBM using that remarketing integration that DBM already has. So second is the holistic attribution piece. And that is the ability to analyze how DBM contributes to conversions using cross-channel attribution in GA. And then finally, and I think, not most importantly, but really important in terms of just getting up and going, is that this is a super quick setup. It doesn't require any additional tagging. It's just simply linking your accounts. So if you're interested, go ahead and contact your account manager or your reseller, and they can help you get that set up. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Abhi, and he's going to tell us now a little bit about DoubleClick Search.
All right, thank you, Krista. So DoubleClick Search. DoubleClick Search, as I mentioned, it's your cross search engine management tool. So if you're buying, in addition to AdWords on Bing, Yahoo, and other search engines, then you would consider using a cross search engine management tool like DoubleClick Search, just to have a single interface where you can manage all these campaigns and you can get a basic reporting insights into all of these. Now, we already have a great integration with AdWords, which provides you a lot of rich insights. The challenge that our customers always faced is that for all the non-AdWords search engines, for example, Bing, Yahoo, etc., they always had to manually tag their campaigns for them to show up in GA.
It's not an easy comparison.
Yeah, there's no easy comparison, and the insights that we could provide were basically limited to what you could put in the UTM tags, so basic source medium and campaign information. This integration solves that problem. So with this, if you are using DoubleClick Search for your cross-engine buys, then you directly link your search account with Google Analytics, and we pull all of those engines and report on those within GA, just in a familiar way that you would see for AdWords, or for example, that I just demonstrated for Bid Manager. So this is an example report. In DoubleClick Search, we'll create a new section for DoubleClick Search, which supports the same dimension hierarchy. So you have advertisers, accounts, campaigns, ad groups, and keywords. And then for any of those dimensions, you'll get the familiar GA metrics. You'll see your sessions, what is the quality of those sessions in terms of bounce rate, etc. And then again, I'll go into more detail on this. One point to note here would be we're still working on one part of it, that DoubleClick Search data will also appear in attribution and multi-channel funnels, the way you saw for Bid Manager. But we're still working on it. It's testing it internally, and we'll probably launch it by end of Q2. So be on a lookout for that. However, the rest of the functionality, like this report, etc., what you see on the screen, is already available. Yeah, and then similarly, you can use the rich audience segmentation capabilities of GA to better understand your search traffic that you acquired from other engines. You can take a quick insight into age distribution, gender distribution, interest categories, etc. So with that, let's go and look at the search demo. Okay, so we start with all traffic. We start with again, all traffic source medium report. Let me just make sure that so let me just remove this segment and then apply all users again. Just yeah. So as we apply this, we'll see again, you will see by source medium all the traffics. You already see Google CPC, which is perhaps coming through our AdWords integration. But if I quickly search for CPC, you'll see other engines will start appearing here. And normally you would be used to seeing this report because most customers do tag their sites by, wait, sorry. Okay, so I think the data range for this is not up to date. Let me just select data a little back in time because we had, sorry about that. We don't have latest data for this demo account, so bear with me for a second. Yeah, so for example, if we go to a date when we were spending on multiple engines on our demo account, You'll see Google CPC is something we are used to seeing through our AdWords integration. But for other engines, example, Yahoo and Bing, this is coming automatically without the need for tagging your Yahoo or Bing campaigns. This is being picked up from DoubleClick Search. And you can see that very easily because, again, all the DoubleClick Search dimensions are also available as a secondary dimension. So as I apply that, you will see that DoubleClick Search is appearing against Google CPC, Yahoo, and Bing CPC. Note that there is also Google CPC, which is appearing as not set. This is likely because there is traffic on AdWords that you may not be tracking in DoubleClick Search. A lot of our customers only track part of the AdWords traffic for their own business reasons, in which case you would still continue to get all your Google traffic through AdWords, but DoubleClick Search would only tag the rest of your traffic. So these two integrations work well together that way.
Interesting. So then you're saying that AdWords should be tracked through DoubleClick Search to have that full robust.
Which it would come in by default, yes.
Okay,
so if you are tracking AdWords to DoubleClick Search, we will bring that in still. But the real value of the integration would be beyond AdWords for other engines which don't come in through AdWords traffic. All right, so let's say you want to dig deeper into this. Again, similarly, you get into DoubleClick Search section, which is again pivoted on the same set of dimensions that you would see in Dart Search. So we start at the advertiser level, and you can easily see how many sessions we are driving and so on, and the bounce rate, etc. for those. You can drill down into these, and you can in fact go all the way down to the keyword level. And we'll pull in all the keywords across all search engines, and we'll display them here, and we'll compute the corresponding bounce rate and all the other engagement stats for those. So example, in this case, you can see an Android plush toy, which would be probably like an unbranded keyword for merchandise store. Then you have a branded keyword of Google Merchandise Store, which have very different bounce rate and engagement, etc. And you can even you can now start to segment this traffic a little more. And this is where you can also use the power of GA. So I would, let's say, apply two segments. I will apply, if we have all users applied here, let's apply new users. And let's apply, oh, wow. Just give me a second. And we were looking for basically returning users. So that gives you a good contrast of, yeah, there they are, sorry. So we apply new users and returning users. And this would be, and this way we can segment, for example, for a given keyword, how are new users behaving and how do they compare to returning users? And in this case, for example, for Google Merchandise Store, you can see they're behaving pretty differently. You have your bounce rates and average session duration. You will see for your Merchandise Store, the engagement time is very different. For returning users, they are spending much less time, whereas new users who you are acquiring through this keyword are spending a lot more time. Now, it's interesting, you could dig deeper into this. Maybe returning users know what they're looking for and just come and they buy right away. And you could apply conversions and you could look at that. Yep. Or alternatively, they're bouncing off because they're not finding what they would like. And similarly for new users, because they are so heavily engaged, if they are not buying yet, this would be a good segment to create a remarketing list, and you just go after them on display through DBM or on your search accounts as well.
Yep.
So just an example of things you can start doing with this. So let me get rid of these quickly, and I'll show you the same data. Just like with Bid Manager, even for DoubleClick Search, we have linked, you have the option to import your cost data. So if you import your cost data and clicks data, you can go to this clicks tab, and you will see all your impressions, clicks, and cost data that is coming from these different DS dimensions. Right now at the keyword level, we are providing how many clicks did each keyword get, how many impressions, and then how much have we spent on these keywords so far. And again, some cost-related metrics. And again, if you're doing revenue in GA using e-commerce or goals, then we'll also give you a ROAS on that. So it's something really useful where you don't need access to the individual systems that are managing these search campaigns. You can just do that in GA.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially if I assume you can apply a secondary dimension here to see
Totally,
which
yeah.
network it was.
Yep.
So then you could look at the CPC and compare the keywords all in one place,
Yep.
which I think is very powerful, not having to jump around to so many different tools.
That's actually a great point. You could apply your agency or your engine type as a secondary dimension, and you could see how the same keyword is performing across different engine in terms of driving engagement. So that would be pretty
engagement
useful
and
too.
Costs even.
Engagement and cost,
you know, if it's better to be spending that money on one platform or another.
Yep, absolutely. So that's for the section specific reports. I'll quickly give you an overview on the audience side. So let's again go to overview. You have all your DoubleClick Search traffic coming in. We have all users. Let's add a segment for users that we have acquired through DoubleClick Search. This is acquired via DS sessions, and again, created the same way because all the DS dimensions are available in your unified segments for segmentation. So you can easily create users that you acquired through DoubleClick Search. And you can do age and gender comparison. Like in this case, you can see users who you acquired through your search campaigns are trending pretty differently than your main type of user distribution that is coming to your site.
Oh, how interesting. It's super different.
Yeah, now that could be intentional, or that could be something that would be a surprise, but it would be a good thing to look at and then see how can you leverage this insight. Similarly, for gender, it's also sort of more weighted towards males in your overall, I guess, distribution versus in the ones that you acquire through ads. And all the other categories are available. So you have geo, you have technology, where you have device reports, you have interest categories. You can again do affinity and in-market on these. So all the same kind of distributions are available as well. Final point is conversion section, where we are still working on it, but you would see a very similar model of working as you see for AdWords, meaning a separate tab for specific deep dives. But that's coming end of Q2.
Awesome.
Right, so we can switch back to slides and probably wrap up our search integration.
Yep, so if we're taking a look at the slides now, to summarize, you can not only measure post-click engagement and conversion metrics for your paid search campaigns through the new reporting integration, but you can also funnel that data back into that GA data back into DoubleClick Search for analysis and bid optimization by leveraging GA's goals and conversions. And we support bid optimization to session level Google Analytics goals like time on site and pages per visit. And then finally, that really quick setup with auto tagging. So nothing that you have to do in terms of more tags on your page. Talk to your account manager, your reseller, whoever, to help you get that integration set up. Cool. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the content part of this. We're going to show you our resources. So as always, our help center, support.google.com/analytics. The Analytics Academy is always a great resource for analytics training. And of course, you guys know the Google Plus community that you're all logged into. It's a great place to have conversations and to access these longer form HOA sessions, as well as our shorter form tip of the week video content on all of our new products. And then you can reach us on social media as well, at Google Analytics, at Krista Seiden on Twitter. So let's go ahead and jump into questions. We have a few that have come in. Definitely submit those via the HOA chat box so that we can get to any questions that may have arose for you during the session. So our first question, Abhi, is from Tobias, and he wants to know, can the DC Bid Manager recommend spend for specific campaigns, and can it implement them for you within a user-defined cost threshold? Basically, can we automate the spend per campaign within a cost limit we define?
I see. So for clarification, I think this question is more specific to Bid Manager as a product. Doesn't get impacted by our integration till date. I think the question basically is that within Bid Manager, could you set up cost thresholds on a per campaign basis, just like probably you would do in search? And then can the system intelligently allocate budget to different campaigns while keeping those thresholds intact? I can speculate. I think Bid Manager does that. I'm familiar with that capability, but I would recommend that you talk to your Bid Manager account reps for more up-to-date on how to specifically leverage that functionality.
Great. So we have a question from Viviana, and she wants to know, in order to have Google CPC as a source medium for the campaigns that are driving in DoubleClick Search, is it necessary to do the linkage of DoubleClick Search to GAP?
Just for your Google CPC campaigns, meaning these are campaigns that you are paid search campaigns coming from AdWords, you don't need to do DoubleClick Search. This would work even today without any DoubleClick Search linking. This works by virtue of your Google Analytics and AdWords linking, which is available to all of Google Analytics, not just Premium. So that is what you would need. The use case for DoubleClick Search would be if you're buying on other engines, non-AdWords like Bing, Yahoo, etc.
Right, great. So we have a question from Lewis, and Lewis wants to know, if you already get Bid Manager traffic through the DCM integration, what's new with the Bid Manager integration?
Right, that's a great question. So for those of you who are using both Bid Manager and DoubleClick Campaign Manager, DoubleClick Campaign Manager is your ad server. So that already tracks, and it has all the impression and click information for all of your Bid Manager campaigns as well. And through our Campaign Manager integration, you already get those impressions and clicks. So that's great. The part that was missing for a lot of our customers was the granularity of Bid Manager campaign hierarchy. So you would see those impressions and clicks in GA, but only segment them by your DoubleClick Campaign Manager hierarchies, like how many Campaign Manager campaigns, how many sessions did they drive. But it's very hard to translate those into Bid Manager actions because you don't know which specific campaign within Bid Manager has been driving those impressions and clicks. Right. So with this integration, if you've brought those detailed labels, if you will, from DoubleClick Bid Manager, and we're using those, so now you can see it more in terms of Bid Manager campaign hierarchy, and you can translate those insights more easily.
Great. So we have one more question here. If you do have any questions, definitely get them in the Hangout box now so that we can get to them. So this question is from Andrej, I think. He says, thanks for the Hangout. Looks promising. Thank you. I think it does look very promising. What of all of these that we've spoken about what does it mean for web analysts or developers or technical integrators of tracking and measuring? Is there some news from the technical point of view, e.g. deprecation of floodlights? So let me give my take on this, and then I'd love to hear yours. So I think from that analyst point of view, this doesn't mean that you're being phased out or anything like that. Certainly, it means that you have a whole lot more data now available at your fingertips within GA to go ahead and analyze against all of your other site actions. So I think as an analyst, this is very, very exciting news because it gives you such a richer set of data to work with and to answer your business questions. In terms of that technical point of view, news type thing, anything to do with floodlights, I'm going to let you answer that.
I'm wondering. Actually, from a technical point of view, there is no real impact. Like, I'm not sure what the floodlight deprecation means in this context, but just for clarification, through DoubleClick Campaign, if you are integrated with Campaign Manager, then we import floodlight tags, and floodlight tags is the currency of conversion for all of the DoubleClick products. So the moment you link DoubleClick Campaign Manager, you have the ability in Google Analytics to use your floodlight tags for analysis as a token for conversion. With Bid Manager and DoubleClick Search, the same applies for any of these products. If you want to leverage floodlight, then you need to link Campaign Manager, because Campaign Manager kind of is the owner of floodlight tags. And yes, if you're using Campaign Manager, they are working. Bid Manager and Search will immediately be applicable to those. If you're not using Campaign Manager, then with Bid Manager and Search, you can do all the other conversion analysis using Google Analytics goals and e-commerce transactions, etc., but not floodlights.
Okay, great. So you just mentioned goals, and Corey actually has a follow-up to Andre's question. And he wants to know, do we know when GA goals will be able to be used as conversion signals similar to how they can be passed into AdWords?
That's a great question. That's a whole different step of integration, which is definitely something we are thinking about. Today, our focus with DoubleClick has mostly been ingesting a lot of these insights and surfacing them in Google Analytics to help you analyze these, derive insights, And mostly the action part has been on remarketing. So you could create segments and send it out as remarketing. But I know that you could potentially import your conversions from GA into Bid Manager. That is a part which is, I would say we're still thinking about it. We are working on it, but I don't have a date yet to announce that part.
So you did just mention remarketing, very timely, because Thierry has a question about, it says, is it possible to build remarketing lists based on the view-through users which don't click?
You could do that. There are some constraints in terms of how granular you could go there. There are some basic thresholds we apply, meaning if there are fewer than, I think there is some number which I don't remember, but if you have like very little traffic on a particular campaign, then on view-throughs you're not able to remarket. And also you're not able to remarket on a per publisher basis, meaning there is a dimension called DFA site, which corresponds to the actual site where you're serving those impressions. That's the only dimension which you cannot use, but you can use other dimensions for creating view-through lists, which can then be sent for remarketing. Yes.
Awesome.
Good question. Yeah.
So that wraps up all the questions that we had from our users and our viewers. I do have just one more question for you, and that is, what are you excited about when it comes to everything that you're working on? What's next? What really is driving you right now?
Yeah, no, I think what I'm excited about is this lays a solid foundation in terms of our story with Google Analytics and DoubleClick digital marketing. We've invested a long time to be able to connect these two systems and put together a comprehensive view in Google Analytics.
Mm-hmm.
And our next wave would be sort of making all these reports more actionable, so which means making it easier for you to get insights out of these, and then to earlier conversations about remarketing, etc., even making it easier for you to take action on these. I think our AdWords integration has done a great job in leading the path there. So I'm excited about that next wave of innovations on that front.
I'm excited about it too. The analyst in me just wants so much more rich data in GA to be able to use, and you're really driving that here. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of these really great insights about the new DoubleClick Bid Manager and DoubleClick Search integrations. I'm excited to see what's next, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you back in a few weeks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.